Hello everyone, this is Scott and this is video 1 in your training series for the Ultimate DEA Profit Maximizer. So in this video what I want to show you how to do is to initialize your workbook and get it all set up to start projecting your earnings and entering your actuals for your DEA business. So after you've first downloaded the file, simply open the file. Now on your machine, depending on what your macro settings are, you may see a button up here in the ribbon that prompts you to the fact that there's executable code or macros within the workbook, and it's going to give you the opportunity to enable those macros. So just be aware of that. First, however, you're going to see this disclaimer come up. Please read the disclaimer, and once you have, just simply click OK. And after you've acknowledged that disclaimer, you'll simply enable those macros. You don't see it here on my screen because my security settings allow for the macros already. So I'm going to maximize my window here, and very first thing when we open the workbook is it's going to open to the actuals worksheet. I know this looks really intimidating. Please don't worry, you're not going to have to do anything in this table unless you want to. I've implemented a really super easy to use user form and a bunch of charts that will enable you to instantly input your data and understand exactly what this table and the projections table are showing, only in a very easy to understand visual format. So I want you to go to the projections tab, and right here in cell B2 is where you're going to enter the date where you first begin your DEA marketing. Okay, and I want you to enter that as the first day of whatever that starting month is. We're coming up here on February 1st, so I'm going to enter the date as 2/1/2018, and I'm going to hit carriage return. You're going to see this message pop up. Are you sure you want to reset the date? Resetting the date actually reinitializes the workbook. If there were data in the workbook at this point, it would actually clear it out and reset the workbook for an entirely new business cycle. So I'm going to click yes here. And by the way, while I have you here, guys, I would highly recommend, after downloading the workbook, make a couple of copies of the workbook in its original format. Now you get, with your purchase of the Ultimate DEA Profit Maximizer, you get unlimited downloads, you get free updates. However, it's still a great idea, once you download the workbook, make a couple of copies of it and stash those somewhere where you remember them on your computer. That way, if you corrupt your workbook or anything, you'll have a fresh copy right there. You won't have to go download a new one. So anyway, here we've initialized our workbook, and just simply by changing that date on the projections tab. And you'll notice that once we did that, it activated our actuals worksheet. So I want you to notice here in row 13 that by initializing the workbook by entering that date, we've now established our year-long timeline here in row 13, beginning with our starting date. Okay, fantastic. Now I'll explain a few things here on the projections tab, because this is where most of us starting out, we really want to know what's the potential of our DEA business. And this is that table that's going to show us the awesome power of the DEA business model. Alright, so we've got a few user inputs here. Many of these are blank right now because obviously this is a brand new workbook. But I do want to explain a few things to you here. These conversion rates, by default, I've set those somewhere around what the current company averages are for conversion rates. What this means is, for example, in cell D2, I've indicated leads to apps. and there's a conversion rate here of 3%. By the way, anytime you see in your workbook a red indicator up in the upper right hand corner of that cell, I've implemented a comment there that explains what that cell is all about. Okay, so if you mouse over cell E2, you'll see that I've entered a comment there that attempts to explain to you the lead to app conversion rate. Alright, so each of these is of course a conversion expressed in percentage. Alright, so to navigate the workbook, probably the easiest way to do it, you'll look down here and you'll see all these tabs, of course, and yes, you can simply click on them. A super easy way to navigate your workbook is to click here, right click here, just in this lower left hand corner where the arrows are, to right click that, and that will list all the pages in the workbook. Alright, so first I guess I'll orient you to all the pages. If we go to the What's Your Goal sheet, now I must admit this isn't a sheet that I use very often. This is a very simple calculator that gives us some idea of what marketing budget will be required to create a certain income within our business, and this is all based on our module 4 paid list building video that Stuart Ross gives in the training modules. And in that training video, Stuart talks about basically gaining our freedom through an affiliate business by achieving a very doable $1 per month per subscriber revenue stream. So this is simply a calculator that lets us project what kind of marketing budget would it take to create our freedom, basically. So here in this example, by the way, anytime you see blue text in the workbook, that's an editable field, meaning you can change that value. So let's say we wanted to create an income, an annual income of $200,000. And we wanted to do that by February 1st, a year from now, 2019. You know, as we build our list, then not everyone's going to remain a subscriber. So what I've allowed for here in the unsubscribe rate is the percentage of people who will be added to our list but eventually drop off simply because they find our product not what they need or whatever. So I've just set that arbitrarily here at 20%. And assuming we could acquire leads at an average cost of, let's say, $6.50, we would see here that that would require a total required marketing budget of $129,995. And yeah, guys, you'll notice right here in cell H2 that I have an error. That's because I didn't put the slash in my date. So I'll go back and make that correction, and you'll see that. There we go. Okay, so now you may look here at this figure, total required marketing budget of almost $130,000. So I don't want you to be alarmed by this because your business is going to pay for the vast majority of this. So let's move on and let's have a look at the loan amortization sheet. I implemented this in the workbook because in a lot of cases folks will be using other people's money or leveraging debt to fund either their positioning, their marketing budget, or both. In my case, I did that as I funded a portion of my positioning by borrowing, and so that becomes a factor in determining our return on investment. And if you have cash reserves out of which you're making your monthly loan payments, that would impact the tracking of our cash reserves, which the workbook supports, and I'll show you in another video how we can track cash reserves. If you're looking to engage investors to fund your business. I'll do a separate video on how you can use this loan amortization sheet to attract investors to fund your marketing or your positioning, or maybe as full partners with you. So let's move on to the commissions table. And this table, you'll notice, has blue text, meaning these are editable fields. Here in cell K3, we can have our commissions reflected at the regular price of the DEA sales or at the 10-day discounted price. As the company, as the SFM, may change the prices of the products, we can go in here and update those to reflect the new prices. And the prices will be changing very quickly, very soon, that is, within the SFM. I'm not sure of the date, but when that happens, I'll simply go in here and update these fields for both the regular and the 10-day price. Okay guys, so here I'm at the projections tab, and I don't want you to be intimidated by this table. I actually would recommend that as you input your data, and by the way, all of these fields up here that either have a blue text indicator or have a little red mark in the upper right hand corner, most of these cells are going to require data input. But again, I'd rather you not put that data directly in here. I'm going to show you a super easy way that I've implemented to allow you to input your data, and that is with the user form. If you notice here on your Excel tab or your Excel menu, you now have a new tab called DEA Profit Maximizer. If you click on that, you'll see here that you can show a user form. And so you'll open that form. There are two tabs on the form that allow us to make data entry. I want you to go to the Projections tab, and right here we're going to, I'll just orient you here to the user form. First we have marketing budget, and then over here to the right you'll see an increment spin button, and what that allows us to do is control the increment by which this spin button increases our marketing budget. So I'll simply set that to 1,000, and we'll just, in this case, I'll just set it initially to a $1,000 a month marketing budget. Same here with cost per lead. I can increment the amount by which we increase cost per lead, and for now I'll just set this at $7. And you may notice that as I'm doing this, we start to see some numbers or some calculations being made here in the table. Then we have positioning, and so we can simply scroll up and down here in our positioning window to and again, you'll notice a few things changing. You'll notice here in row 11 that the name of the forecast changes to whatever we're positioned at. Okay, so if you wanted to do comparisons, you could capture a screenshot of these pages and then later go back and compare the results. So I'm going to set this at black. Reinvestment cap is a metric that has to do with the cap that we're going to set our marketing budget at. And so as our business grows and generates more income, we're going to reinvest all of our earnings each month back into our marketing budget to grow it to whatever we set this value at. So I'm going to set this initially at $6,000. Again, you'll notice the numbers in the table are changing as I make those changes. And then each of these numbers right here is the percentage of conversion for that respective conversion. Not sure if I said that right, but so you'll look right here on the projections tab. I've already set these by default in the workbook, but you can feel free to adjust those if you like. I've set these based on some figures that I got early on from Lifestyle Team, but there are others in the business who may be and are getting different results. So please feel free to play around with these and see how they impact what your projected earnings would be. Right here, the unsubscribe rate relates to the fact that not everybody who joins our email list or opts in is going to remain a subscriber. And as we make conversions, that is, conversions from leads to applicants, whatever this percentage is set at actually attrits or reduces our subscribers on our SFM video series list by that percentage. So I would recommend setting this somewhere around 23%. That's a little bit arbitrary, but it's fair to say that not everybody's going to stay on our list. And you'll notice as I do that, if you watch some of the numbers here in our table, you'll see those numbers change as I implement the unsubscribe rate. And then finally, right here on our projections tab, we can set the workbook to show us our projected earnings with our conversions receiving a 10-day discount or not receiving a 10-day discount. So I always set that to the 10-day discount because obviously most folks, I think, as they position in the DEA, they're going to receive that 10-day discount. Alright, so now that I've shown you the user form, I'm going to end this particular video and then I'm going to pick it back up where I show you how to use the projections, use the user form and the charts to play around with those numbers and get a feel for the factors that affect your profitability in your DEA business. So I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Talk soon.